Howdy, folks. Hey, welcome to Brazos Real Estate Investors Club. I'm Keith Roberts, and I'm going to be your host this evening. That was a PSA from Jet Lending, one of our sponsors. And just to stay warm, keep your investment properties safe. So I'm Keith Roberts. I'm a real estate investor. I run the Brazos Real Estate Investors Club. I own a home investors, We Buy Ugly Houses franchise. I'm a realtor with 12 Realty here in the Bryan College Station area. And I'm a independent loan officer with Jet Lending. So I wear a lot of hats, and tonight I'm your host, but I'm not the producer. We have Mary is a producer, and we're not co-located tonight. So if you hear us talking to each other, she's on the opposite side of town. So tonight, got an exciting night lined up. We got Doug Zettler with Property Tax Consultants going to talk to us about making sure to keep property taxes low. And we got Gerald Popp with Extraco Bank going to talk about using your local bank to fund your deals and how that compares to what you're using right now. So I hope everybody's been staying safe and sane, and you're getting back out there, but you're staying warm this weekend. So we want to hear your comments. Post them in Facebook, wherever you're coming from, or YouTube. Mary's going to put a link in the comments right there that you need to click on if we want to let us know who you are. If you've done it once in the past, then you're good. But throw your comments up there. She'll put them up on the screen, and we'll go. So thanks to University Title, our title sponsor, and for Jet Lending, we're crashing their studio tonight. Also to Extraco and Property Tax Consultants, both sponsors, and we're blessed to have them. So we'll be back right after this with Gerald Popp from Extraco. Thanks. Howdy, welcome back. Hey, if you're just joining us, I'm Keith Roberts, Brazos Real Estate Investors Club, 12 Realty Home Investors, and also a loan officer with Jet Lending. And we got Gerald Popp here tonight, and I'm honored to be here and honored to know him as a friend. Gerald's been around for ever since day one when I said we want to host a Real Estate Investors Club in town. Gerald was one of the first to step up and say, I want to be a part of that, and pretty much hasn't missed a meeting since, unless his wife has a date planned, and that takes priority. So
priority, yep.
Yeah. And so Gerald is with Extraco Banks. And so Gerald, just real quick, introduce yourself, anything I missed.
Yeah, I'm an Extraco Bank. I'm a senior executive vice president, senior commercial lender. And really, it's interesting what we do, and especially in the Bryan College Station market, is make real estate loans. I mean, we do mostly commercial. I'm a commercial lender. We do have a mortgage group, Carrie Bullington and her team over there make, the residential loans. But we do, I think, the kind of stuff that most of the BRIC members are wanting to need financing for out there. So it's interesting. Tonight, we're going to talk about, what the bank wants, and Keith's going to talk about hard money lending. And really, there's so much opportunity out there, and there's a place for both of them. So, kind of what we do is different from what they do. But again, depending on what your needs are, you probably need to talk to one of us. But, as far as, Mary asked me to have some thoughts, and she may pop some screenshot up here about, what we look for. And really the starting spot is, first, good credit. Everybody needs to work on that. Make sure you have that. But then after that, you just really need to come in and talk to a lender and tell them what you want to do. You need to be prepared for that meeting. If you don't have a relationship with the bank already, you ought to have your tax returns ready, your financial statement, or tell somebody to send you the forms and bring that with you. And then have a good written plan of what you want to do out there. Don't just come and say, hey, I want to buy this house for $70,000. I want to do about $50,000 in repair, and I need about $140,000 in financing. And if you add those numbers up, they don't quite work. They might if you have a high after repaired value. I don't know, but so there's a the banking deal. It's interesting in this market we have recently. It's gotten a little tougher out there. because the rents have probably not kept pace with some of the rising prices out there. So, and here on the screen, we talk about down payment. We usually want at least 15%. I mean, it's always 20% or more, basically. Well, the problem with, especially on these investment properties, these rental properties, the 20% down payment sometimes doesn't make the debt service coverage work. So we look at, really two things when we look at one of these deals. I mean, do we have enough collateral, and then do we have enough debt service coverage out there? So does the income, cover all the things beside the mortgage payment? You have to cover the taxes and the insurance and repairs and those kind of things. So that little complicated screen that you'll see later, a little worksheet, we have a little worksheet. If you ever want to know what we look at, just email me and I'll email it to you. You can work off of it. I mean, the same thing we would do. And then you can bring that in and we can, clean it up and make it work for us and everything. And that's the worksheet I'm talking about. It's way too hard to read from here, but basically on the top you have revenues, the bottom you have expenses, or the middle you have expenses. On the very bottom you have that debt service coverage ratio. That stuff on the side over there, that's for the lenders, where we do all this analysis about the what if scenarios, like what if COVID-19 hits and everybody's rents go down or they're not paying, that kind of stuff. So, but
I filled that out.
Do what?
Yeah, I filled that form out a few times, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So
every 6 months, I think. Yeah.
Well, on every new deal you bring in or something. So, but
so what do you see? So you're, as I said in the intro, you're very active in the in our investor meetings. Great support, and I know you get a lot of people coming to you. So what do you see? Say from first-time investors or new investors of what you wish they knew. You mentioned getting your docs in order and come and see you sooner than later. I'm also a realtor, and people call us about looking at a house, and I ask about money, and that's one of my first questions. Have you talked to a lender yet? And when they say no, I kind of wonder, how do you know how much house you're going to look at?
Yeah, it's interesting because until you start, kind of putting it on paper, I don't know how a person would decide, hey, can I afford a $200,000 house or a $500,000 house? So what you might do is you go to your lender first, say, hey, I'm new at this. I don't know where to start, or tell me how much you do know. And then let me maybe kind of help you get a game plan kind of put together. What information will we be needing? I mean, typically we need, a couple years tax returns. We need a new personal financial statement. And, we take that for granted that everybody knows how to do that. But until you do the first one and until it really makes sense, sometimes you just need a little hand holding and a little start and everything. And I think we're pretty good at that. But yeah, go to BRIC or go to ask, hang around people that are doing it, find out what they're doing, go, get yourself educated. And that education is really, talking to people who are doing what you want to do out there and talking to a lender. And, you can't camp out all day in the office because we got a lot of work to do and everything, but you can sure get a good start and we can kind of tell you what to look for. So
from when a guy comes into your office or calls you and says, I got a property, like, and I'm looking at this property, from the time he comes into your office, assuming he or she does everything you ask him to do on time, what's a good number to tell that person of the soonest to put a close date in a contract?
Well, okay, let's just say if like you came in because we already have a file built, and I mean, we don't really have to kind of go through that whole process. Maybe you have to do a little bit of updating, but we tell them, especially on these kind of simple residential, if you're buying a little rent house and stuff, we still tell people you need to put in there 30 plus days. I mean, 30 days is way fast because you have to go out and get an appraisal. And, so you're waiting on that. And even after that, you have to, get doc prep and all the title company work and stuff. And it just takes time. And especially right now when everybody's, the appraisal services are pretty busy. Title companies are really busy. And we're getting a little backup sometimes of just people having a hard time to get to stuff. I mean, if my world was perfect, y'all would never write anything that had less than 45 days in it, because I know we can get it done in 45 days unless it's a problem. But no realtor wants to go 45 days. They want to do it for 26 days or something short.
Well, I know part of that reason is they write the contract with 30, and it takes 4 days to get all the signatures. And then
it's stuff like that, and just we've got. so much better because of the technology, but still sometimes it just takes some days in there. So
yeah, and I try to explain that to people. I'm like, it'll take 4 days to do this. And they say, what? It's 10 minutes of work. And I say, yeah, it shouldn't take 4 days, but it does. And then that's assuming that once the realtor drops everything to the title, they kind of take a breath and assuming that buyer is reaching out to you. But then they wait for Monday. So now it's 7-8 days gone by.
Yeah, and sometimes we forget, and I know I do this whenever I'm shopping or something, but sometimes you got to remember you're not the only customer out there. There's probably some other deals we're working on and stuff. So,
yeah,
I'm not sitting there. I have been in the past, but sometimes I'm not sitting there waiting for you to call. And
yeah,
I don't
except me, right?
Except you, Keith.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, on the market, we are super busy right now, and I don't know. Part of it's a little pent-up demand from COVID, and I think part of it is that. And when COVID hit, obviously we're blessed to be in this community because it's a good market, and it's slowed down for a while there. But I think now it's kind of back, and people are doing some things they had put off for a while. So, but we're really busy.
Yeah. Question up on there: what kind of money is the best? If we're comparing institutional money that you have, bank money, versus money that I sell with jet lending, hard money. And, there's other stuff, private. And so that question is, what would you say is the best for, I'm assuming that question is for rentals, long-term 30-year loan probably versus extreme short-term. That's how I'm reading it.
One thing about, even the longer term rentals, sometimes you almost have to go to, you might be better off going to the hard money lender first to get the improvements made and get stuff done, get it closed quickly and those kind of things. And then when you get all that stuff done and you get your renter in place, maybe that's the time to go to your, more conventional, lender like me, and that you can put on a longer term, more traditional mortgage type product.
If we can pull that comparison slide up for a second. And so I think one of the biggest takeaways there to answer that question is you're loaning primarily loan to cost. So whatever its contract price is for, you're going to do 80% of that. Now you might lend on your commercial construction loans, part of the repairs, but versus the hard money for that short term is going to be asset based, where they're looking at what the house could be worth and loan as a percentage of that. And like you said, short term, high interest, get it done 3-6 months, all the repairs are done, maybe get some tenant in there if that's what your goal is, and then give you a call. And now you're not funding the acquisition and the repairs. You're just doing a refi out of that short-term money.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, you said, really the high cost of, the hard money lender. Well, if you effectively use that money and turn it really quick, I mean, that high cost is really just the cost of doing business, and it's an opportunity. So, I mean, we live in two different worlds and the costs are different and everything. But again, that's the right tool out there. And I'm not trying to pitch Keith's deal, but sometimes that is the right tool out there to make it work. I don't know if he's online tonight. I won't mention name, but I had a young, a new BRIC member, this month. And he called me about a house he was buying, and we were trying to figure out, okay, how do I do this? And then the guy comes in, wants to close it right away, so he gets his hard money loan, and he goes does the repairs, and what he'll probably do is come back in 6 months or so when he's got the repairs done, the tenant in there, and then it looks to me like it's a better deal. And then we can kind of go back, okay, we know what you spent on it. We're a loan to cost, but, some of that's a little sweat equity and, our appraisal. I mean, we're supposed to be loan to cost, lower of loan to cost or loan to value. Well, sometimes, there's a big discrepancy between cost and value especially when you're, doing a little sweat equity and have a lot of effort in one of these projects and stuff. So we can try to bend the rules, not to bend the rules there, but kind of be a little accommodating, as long as the cash flow and the debt service looks good.
Because you're not funding the acquisition now. Now you're just sending an appraiser out after all the work's done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good plan. Do you see a lot of that from our BRIC members?
Yeah, I mean, especially years. I mean, and because a lot of guys, especially when somebody's new to this, they're starting out and they're going to buy a probably lower cost property, and they're going to put some of their own time and effort into it, and they're going to, the whole real estate business. I mean, cash is king. So sometimes it's about, if you don't have a lot of cash, sometimes you have to, do some flips, 1 or 2 flips to help start accumulating a little. You need to make money on them, of course. So make sure they're good flips, but try to do that to accumulate a little bit of cash. The problem with investment real estate, the way we finance it, you do 1 or 2 of those, and all of your cash is tied up in there, and then you don't have cash to do your next deal and stuff. So I understand why people want to get all the cash out they can and everything, but again, we expect to have a little skin in the game and expect you to have some cash in those deals. So
yeah. Okay. Wrapping up, what would you say you wish? I know we got experienced investors listening, new investors. What would you say that you wish we as an investor community knew more about to help them prepare to come see?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just be prepared. Have your numbers, and when you say that, hey, the repair is going to be $40,000, it's probably good to have not just necessarily bids, but something to support the numbers and stuff.
Yeah,
make sense. But
and we got you. Go ahead.
Well, I'd say, and when you come to me, sometimes they ask me, okay, Gerald, what's really important here? What are you looking at? I'm looking at the debt service coverage. I'm looking at the loan to cost, loan to value. So I'm surprised at how many times somebody comes in and says, well, hey, it's, I know my rent's $1,200 and my payment's only $600. That's a good deal. Well, it's not a good deal if your taxes and insurance and all that are in between, and you have some vacancy, and then you're always and then we actually impute a little 5% management fee in there and everybody says, well, I manage my own property. Well, the problem is that, you can only manage so many. When you get big enough, sooner or later, you have to have a manager out there. Mm-hmm. Or in the fact that if we had to get it back, we'd have to have a manager out there. So, because I can't manage them. So, but so, we're going to put some costs in there to make it a little more conservative, and being conservative is not bad. So,
yeah. So final closeout. Kyle said he's a new investor in town. If he closes, if he just formed an LLC, do you have any kind of seasoning? How long you want the LLC to be operating, or anything specific on that?
No, Kyle, because on the LLC, a lot of people just put an LLC together for the deal they're working on right then. So, that's pretty typical. They'll just want to put the LLC together, and so we go off your old tax, your personal tax returns, as far as looking at, the kind of financial information we need, because everybody got to start somewhere. So
my recommendation there is to get a folder on your share drive or whatever you use, and put all your LLC docs. That's your EIN, your formation papers, your articles of corporation, whatever. Either put them all in one PDF or stick them all next to each other, named something similar. Because when someone asks them for you, you go into that folder, copy, paste, drag, so you're not hunting all over the place for them. Everybody always putting them in one file is better or easier to get them out there.
No, it really is, and really where we get bogged down on time is getting that information from you. And if I ask you to send me your tax return, send the whole tax return. Don't send the first 2 pages, because the rest of it doesn't make sense. Well, it makes sense to us, and we have to have it.
I do the same thing with our personal taxes and our business taxes. I create a folder and I name the same thing, exact same, but with the year, exact same with the year. And I don't put them in a year called that. I copy them into a folder called taxes, because when you ask me for the last 2, I go in the folder and I just drag up 2, drag, drop, go. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I would say, if you get bigger and your business grows, you have to become more organized, and that tax stuff or the information like that, it's really
keeping that personal finance sheet updated. So Gerald, that's awesome. We're always glad to have you. Any big money sales coming up? Any big programs, giving out toasters or something?
No. We've been doing a lot of PPP loans lately. Maybe that doesn't really hit this market so much and everything. And I hope we get that. So, but I hadn't given away a toaster in a while. So.
So Jeff is asking that you're going to be personally guaranteeing the loan anyway. But yes,
Yeah, he's
But
right. I mean, typically
yeah.
what the LLC does, it does protect you from some liability from anything, from other outside things. But it's from the bank standpoint. I mean, you're going to guarantee the loan personally, and that's just part of it. So.
Yeah, till you get big time, I guess. So one day, right?
Yeah, there is a point where you no longer have to do that, but then you have a 65% loan to cost, or you have a lot of equity.
Yeah, so there's a
There's
trade-off.
reasons you can do that. So.
Yeah. So speaking of PPP, I just saw that they're going to maybe do a second draw. Are you guys hearing that already?
Oh, they're doing that already. I mean, we're doing that right now. So.
Yeah. So people that got the loans out early, they should be paying them back or filing for forgiveness or what?
Yeah, and we've been through. I mean, like I guess of the first round that we did, we probably have like 40 or 50% that's already been forgiven, through the SBA process. So, and most of them, it's just a matter of getting year-end, financial information from them or getting that to get them forgiven. So,
is there any penalties right now if they have not filed for the forgiveness or?
No, they extended all those days, and what we quit trying to do forgiveness because if you're in the middle of forgiveness and trying to get a new one, I mean, if they want to, you don't want to mess the IRS up. They can't do two things at one time. So we work on the new one. Then we'll forgive both of them later on. So or get them to. So
because I haven't done anything with it since it came out, so I'm good, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right. Hey, Gerald, again, thanks. We're happy for your support. Blessed to have you. Stick around because we're going to have you back for a little round robin at the end. So if you still got questions for Gerald, throw them up on screen. We'll get to them at the end. We're going to be back here in about 30 seconds talking with Doug Zettler with Property Tax Consultants. So go recharge your beverage, and we'll see you in 30 seconds. Thanks, Gerald.
Cool. Thanks.
Howdy, we're back. For those of you just joining us, I'm Keith Roberts, Brazos Real Estate Investors Club, realtor with 12 Realty, loan officer with Jet Lending, and home investors. So wear many hats, and tonight I'm wearing a host of our live stream, and we have Doug Zettler here, who's the Chief Operations Officer with Property Tax Consultants in College Station, Texas. I know you're in other towns, I believe. We'll know here in a second. And you work on multifamily houses, hotels, shopping centers, office buildings, and you've been doing this for quite a while, Doug. So welcome. Yes. I appreciate your time tonight. So take a minute and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, Keith. Yeah, I've been doing in this business property tax consulting for about 25 years, and here in Texas for the last 3 years. And I've worked just about every property that you could think of. So, and then we work with, our clients include anything from single family residences all the way to clients with large portfolios of properties. So, you're paying property tax on it. It's something that you need to watch every year when it comes out. I think you and I talked about this earlier, is that one of the most important things is get ahead of the game. Don't wait until a lot of people look at wait till the notices come out, which will be coming out in April. And then they decide that they start thinking like, oh, I've got this notice here now, I've got to do something with it. Wait a couple more weeks. And then pretty soon you could be past the deadline, and which is what you don't want to do. With property tax consultants, you sign up with us. Give us the list of your properties, and we basically take care of everything. And it's something that you can do every year, and you don't have to think of it. For the most part, we work on a contingency basis. So if we're not able to save you money, basically there's no fee.
That's awesome. So what? So the takeaways from that is call you soon, like tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow.
It'd be better.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in the office right now, so you can do it right now if you want.
Yeah. So give Doug a call. I know some of the people watching may know is your partner, Brian
Brian
Stephen,
yeah.
who's a friend of BRIC. I've interviewed him online before, and who's also a appraiser. So you guys got your wear a couple hats, so you know the industry. So that's great. What would you say? I don't know if average savings is the best way, whether that's a percentage or just what you typically see, or maybe even just the most you've saved somebody.
The most we've saved someone? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's we're well in the hundreds of thousands of dollars in the most.
Yeah.
It's a hard question to answer just because there's so many different variables, so many different. Like I said, we work with anything from a single family residence to a very extremely large properties. Of course the single family residences are going to be much. You're not going to save as obviously as much. Their mass appraisal on single family homes is probably more effective than the way they do the other properties. So you don't see quite the savings there that you do. You don't see the same amount of savings, but we're still very successful at it, and even with the smaller properties all the way up to the large ones.
What counties does your office service?
Every county in the state of Texas.
Okay, so good, because I know we got some people from Houston and beyond watching tonight. So just because your office is right down the street from me up here in College Station, if we're down in Houston, give you a call.
Absolutely, yes, we do. I mean, this past year we worked everything from Paris, Texas, which you're almost in Oklahoma by then, all the way down to Galveston, out to West Texas, and over into East Texas. So we do everything, every which way, and everything in between.
Good. So Derek's asking single family under 100K worth the trouble if.
With that, obviously, as the lower you go, it's the return is going to be less. But it depends. You may well have a case on it. There may well be a good reason that the house is being assessed at $90,000, and maybe it's only worth $60,000. And certainly, there's that's something to look at. So just because they have the assessment is relatively small doesn't mean that it's not worth it to take a look at it. We can always look at it and decide not to file an appeal on it too.
Any downsides to appealing or to continually keeping your tax value down?
Zero. No, you should. I mean, that's what I really. When you sign up with us, you basically you can renew every year, and we review your assessment every year, and whether it's a small assessment or a really large one, we review it and decide if we're going to file an appeal on it. And it's just that set of eyes that we look at it and say, is this something that deserves to be appealed, and then we go forward to it. So no, there is no downside on it. I've heard this before. People say, am I, giving is the assessor's office or the appraisal district, is that going to raise a red flag or anything? Absolutely not. No.
So we're realtors too, and I know people when we talk to them, either as an investor, we're trying to buy their house. That's often when we hear it. Well, it was appraised at this price, and then I always have to ask, by an appraiser or by the county? And
yeah,
it's 99%. It's it's what's coming up on the appraisal district, and they think that's the value. And I can say sometimes some of the houses we buy from rundown junk, close to knockdown, it's way overpriced in the CAD versus just about everywhere else, the houses that we're listing as real estate agents are most likely undervalued because, you know, and I tell people, you're actively trying to suppress that value
Yes.
to not pay some more. And people ask me, well, if the tax, you know, on a listing, say, if the value is low, is that going to hurt my listing? And I say, no, because realtors don't care.
Yeah.
Realtors don't care about it at all.
No,
And now, if I do know if I have trouble comping something, a property, mostly when I have my investor hat on, then I do go to the CAD value because I got nothing else, you know, and there's no comps. So I'm going to use that.
It's a starting point, right?
Yeah. So you take care of the appeal, and then how's the interaction between you and the owner? I sign up with you. Let's say I own 3 or 4 properties. It comes up time and you evaluate them. What's next? You give me a call and say, Keith, we saved you money. Now here's where you got to write a check to. Do I keep money on file with you? How's that work?
What we're going to do is you call us tomorrow. We send you the agreement, contingency agreement. We have you sign the authorizations for the appraisal district. Then we go ahead. You give us the list of the properties. We then file or review them and then file the appeals on them and work the appeal. You don't have to. I mean, other than the owner provides some information. You know, if it's an income producing property, rent roll, P&L, any negative information about the property that might hurt its value, anything unusual about the property, deferred maintenance, anything like that. We ask for that kind of information, but then we take it. We do have the informal meeting with at the appraisal district. We go to the formal meeting, to the ARB meeting, where we present our case in front of the board. And once they decide on that, then the outcome of the case is then finished. And then if we're able to reduce it, we send you an invoice with a notice to show what it started at, what it was reduced to, and we send you an invoice for that amount that's agreed on, but in the agreement that you signed with us. And
then we write a check to you, and then we write a check to the county.
Yep.
What about if the amounts are escrowed with a lender, and then so no issues? That's just between me and my lender. Maybe they got too much of my money. Yeah. Yes. So Derek's asking, are new purchases with the recent bank appraisal doable? So I'm guessing maybe he bought it right now and he just got it appraised. So it's a new owner. Maybe, I see that where the new owner isn't going to get mailed that protest notice or the tax notice. So they might slip that first year. So I'm going to say that to Derek. If you're buying a property right now, it's quite possible when the tax goes out, the appraisal district mails that form to the old owner, and you might miss it if you're not paying attention. But
yes, and if the purchase is happening right now, the assessment date, the properties are valued as of January 1st of each year. So it's anything that even though the sale took place subsequent to that, so it would just stick with that one. And
so I'm not sure, Derek, if that answered your question. I think the answer was yes.
Yes.
All right. If not, Derek, throw another comment up there. Brian's asking if you don't reduce the fee or if you don't reduce the value, is there a fee, a minimum fee?
No.
All right. A simple answer, Brian. Good question. And so the deadline, I know you don't want people to wait. You want them to start tomorrow.
Exactly.
But the notice comes out in April, and what is there, a month you have to what?
Then you have 30 days from the date that the notice comes out. Now, last year was kind of a crazy year. We had the COVID issues, which affected a lot of income producing properties, hotels in particular. However, because of the COVID issue started after the assessment date, it really wasn't something that we could use very readily in last year's appeals. For this year, yes, if you sign up with us tomorrow, then we keep track of when that notice comes out. We know what your ID number is. We look at it on the CAD website, and we get the notice right away. Yes, but don't wait until, a lot of people will watch this, and then the notice will come out in April sometime, and then they'll look at it, be very upset with what the notice came out at, and we'll sit in it for a couple weeks, forget about it, and then a couple more weeks, and then all of a sudden you're at the deadline, and then you're down to what happens then. If you miss the filing deadline, then you have to file what's called a late appeal, and the late appeals are much more difficult to prove, because you have to prove that you're 1/3 over the value. So don't do that. So, contact us right away, and we'll take care of all of it. But look out for your assessment notices will start coming after April 15th, and they'll go into May. As soon as those come out, that's the clock starts. You got 30 days then to file the appeal.
So I don't know if you see that note from Jeff there on the screen.
Well, yes.
So,
thank you, Jeff.
So if I came to you tomorrow and say, hey, here's 10 properties I own, and I want to sign up with y'all, and I go through your contract with y'all, so I'm not writing you a check until April or whatever.
That's all you say until really at the end of the summer, in the end of July into August, because the appeals will. It's really a sprint. Once those appeals are filed, then we start meeting with doing the informal meetings at the appraisal district.
Mm-hmm.
They schedule the hearings usually at the beginning of July for us, and so I have about 10,000 hearings in July, and they're all settled by that time.
And so, without going in too deep, I know everybody's time is valuable. So obviously, your fee isn't the amount you save, so it's not a push for us, or it wouldn't be worth doing. But
Exactly.
So really, unless you're going to do this yourself, file this yourself, and I imagine, would you say that you are on average getting the properties reduced? Obviously, you're doing it more than the people who totally ignore it.
Yes.
They're saving zero, but the people who gather up their taxes and go down there and file just a blanket appeal, what would you say to those people, why they should call you instead of just go and do it themselves?
Well, we know how one of the important things is to know how the system works down at the appraisal district, whether it's here in Brazos or any of the other appraisal districts. Knowing the people certainly has, we have relationships down there. We go in there and settle many cases. They know we mean business. We have all the information that specific information for the property, have access to a lot of stuff. We're all, as you mentioned earlier, our Paramount Property Analysts, our sister company, is an appraisal company. And so we use a lot of that appraisal information in our property tax appeal work.
Yeah.
We just have more resources than the layman person.
So the appraisal district, when they see you coming with your big, huge stack, is it they're glad to deal with you, because you're doing it in bulk, or is it, hey.
It's a little bit of both. I have very good relationships down there. I hear a lot of things about people down in the appraisal district. They're actually pretty good folks down there.
That every time I call them, they're great. I mean, I'm 20 plus years in the Army. I kind of have this, institutional bureaucracy that I dislike. But when I came to College Station, I was like, this town is amazing. And I went through, and Bryan and the county, and I went through, the leadership, Brazos, and also the the deals that you walk through the city, and just everywhere I went, I said, this is not what I thought bureaucracy. You know, the people are just genuinely happy to help, and
They are.
you know, I'm not getting a cut from the city. It just was amazing. It was refreshing to me coming out of federal employees and just all the way down to city. And it's just, how can we do better? And I see that at the appraisal district too.
They absolutely are. They're good folks down there doing their jobs. And, you know, we have it's an adversarial relationship, but we make it work, and respect each other. So,
and you're in other counties too. So you're driving and doing these meetings all over the place, or is it a lot like this Zoom?
Until last year, I was on the phone a lot. Counties went via Zoom or conference calls. So, we do go to a lot of them.
So Derek's question up there, your fee based on what you save. You said that earlier. That's true, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Derek, yes.
And so is there a type of investor or a type of client that you see that finally comes into you and says, I should have came in? Probably everybody says, I should have come into you sooner. But from your perspective, is there the type of client that you want to talk to right now saying, if you don't come into me, can you put that person in a describe besides who you think could benefit the most from you? They need to come in your office tomorrow.
Certainly, apartment owners, certainly hotels. I mean, one of the things that's unknown right now is we don't know what the assessments. If I had a crystal ball to know what the assessments will be coming out at in April, I'd know a lot more. So, but depending on what the appraisal district does this year, I mean, hotels, the hospitality industry absolutely got killed, this past year. So they're hurting. That's the one. Those are the ones that I'd really go after right now. But certainly apartment buildings, shopping centers, retail has been affected terribly by this, the pandemic. And so those are the ones.
If one person in a neighborhood or area uses you frequently and the rest doesn't, does it eventually hurt that? I mean, how does that happen? Say a neighborhood that's slowly raising and then one person is down and the rest of the neighborhood's going up. Do you eventually, the elasticity of that where eventually you can't fight it anymore and they're just going to snap up?
Once they call that, it's called equity. The properties have to be treated equally.
Yeah.
Board. And that is something that, we go in and if other people if they're not being appealed, then that equity stays the same, it stays high. So that's why it's important for people to go in and fight it, because if no one does, then it hurts the others, because as long as they are, as everyone is high, has a very high assessment, then that's fine, So no, it does hurt the little guy.
Have you seen where the county just got crazy, and raised some neighborhood, some section a ridiculous amount? Where I feel like I've seen that and heard about it. You'll see if it, and when you go in, or do they just say, "Yeah, we got that one wrong"? And
like I go back to what I said about a lot of these appraisal districts, they're real good folks there, and they have admitted when they're wrong, And I remember going through some residential properties last year in Brazos and talking to the residential appraiser, the CAD, and we reviewed it. And he goes, I don't like the properties I used in this grid here to come up with a mass appraisal, and he changed it. He admitted it. So no, they're, like I said, I think a lot of people have this idea that they're down there, in an evil way, trying to hurt everyone. And they're not. They're trying to get their job, to do their job, and yes, when they make mistakes, I've seen them admit it. So
yeah. So Brian's asking, we got time for like one or two more, and then we'll wrap up. But is it always the informal into formal, or do sometimes you fix it in the informal?
Most of our cases are settled at the informal level. A great majority of them. We take a lot to hearing, to the ARB, Assessment Review Board, locally here. And then if we don't achieve the savings that we want, that we think is proper at the Assessment Review Board, then we go, there's two paths you can go. You can go file an arbitration case, which is, there is a fee involved in the arbitration case. It's basically a fee charged by the comptroller's office that could be refunded depending on how successful you are at the arbitration hearing. You can go that route, or you could file a lawsuit. And the lawsuits are, or obviously it has to be a significant property to file a lawsuit. But I think we filed 30 arbitration cases last year, in 2020, and we have probably 15 lawsuits going. And, across in fact, we settled one just in mediation yesterday that had been going on for a couple of years. So
that's awesome.
To answer the question, though, is it Brian's question? Brian, yeah, we do. We settle most of them informally before the ARB hearing, and then it just goes on and on from there.
Okay, that's awesome. Don's asking if there's any red flags, and then we'll take a break. And Doug, we're going to bring you back with Gerald for a real quick round robin. So if anyone's questions we don't ask, but Don's asking, I know your answer is going to say, come see you anyway. And then,
is that something you want to answer this question right now? Or
yeah, sure.
Okay. Are there any red flags, look, that will indicate my appraised value is too high? Always look at what it was. I mean, your starting point is, what was it last year? And did it get, how much did it go up? If it's a significant jump, what's the reason for that jump? That's the red flag. That's the red flag I can think of. Other than that, they're all going to be individually. I'd have to answer that individually, or each particular case would be different.
Yeah. All right. Great question, Don, and good seeing you today. Doug, thank you for your time tonight. I've been talking with Brian for years, and just sitting here, not that I don't know, maybe explained it better, but I may be coming in and seeing you.
All right. Wonderful. Look forward to it.
So stick around though. We're going to take a short break, recharge your drink if you got one. And then we're going to be back with Doug and Gerald and me just for a quick outro. If you got any questions been pent up, bring them to that. So thanks, Doug. We'll be back 30 seconds.
Thank you, Keith.
Hey, and we're back. Doug just refreshed his drink, or went and did some push-ups or some pull-ups or something. Gerald, anything you heard Doug and I talking about that kind of hit your world?
On Doug's deal, first, I'm that guy that, thought about that. I ran into Brian at a BRIC deal one night. He said, I ought to do that, and didn't get around to doing it. And I did it last year. Doug, actually, I have never met Doug, but Doug said he remembered working on my case. And it's just no reason almost not to do that, because especially I live in an older neighborhood. Our values have gone up a lot. That doesn't mean my house has gone up a lot, because, some of these smaller houses, mine's a pretty big house. These smaller houses are selling. The square foot price is going way up, and I think that's driving some of that. But, I turned it over to them and just got a little letter in the mail one day and said, hey, we saved you this amount. And it was a nice savings, and it was something I should have done 2 years ago. So don't. Yeah. I mean, if you think you ought to do it, let them look at it. So, yeah.
Thanks, Gerald. Appreciate that. And the one thing I would say is that, especially with residential properties, you have to remember that they use mass appraisal approaches, and they got thousands of houses. They've got to go into a neighborhood, find the most recent sales, and they use those sales, and there's only so much time they can spend in it, to come up with the assessment. So again, going back to, they're good people down there doing their jobs,
Yeah, they are.
It's just an inexact science. Yeah.
But I did go down and talk to them one year, a couple of years ago about that, and I think they might have fixed a little bit, but not much. But I felt like I didn't really know what I was doing, and I'm kind of in this world. So
Exactly, yeah.
sometimes you let the experts do it, and then you just go home and drink a beer and let them take it. So, but Doug, I was really worried thinking about it because I've got a couple of one hotel customer, and I know that some of these kind of businesses, their value just on the revenues is going down significantly. So I'm sure, and they're probably doing that, but I'm sure those kind of people are going to keep you awful busy here in the next couple of months, I bet. So
yes, I mean, so many people got hurt in the last year in so many different ways. So it'll be a very busy year, I think.
So that really says if you want your deal done by these guys, you probably ought to turn it in pretty quickly, because I bet y'all are going to be swamped when this.
Yes, that's why I said call tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, Gerald, in your world, how does the tax value, the tax assessed value come into play at all? So is Doug hurting your clients? Doesn't matter.
No, first I'm just like you. I go to that CAD value to see, what a house is worth or something, when they bring it in, because we end up getting an appraisal anyway. But really, from our customer standpoint, it's all about debt service coverage. It's all about expenses. So if Doug can go out there and save my borrower, money, that's obviously going to go to the bottom line and make the debt service coverage better. So, I mean, it's just an expense tool, saving some money. So, yeah.
So if you're just joining us, Doug up here is with the property tax consultants. We just talked to him for the last 10, 15 minutes about reducing your property tax values. Gerald, bottom of my screen, is with Extraco Banks. And we talked to him about using bank institutional money to fund your real estate investment deals. And the takeaway from both of those interviews is you need to go talk to Doug tomorrow morning. And then from there, you need to go see Gerald or email him and set up an appointment so that you can ask him, hey, I'm looking at X type of property. What do I need to do? How much can I afford? And what do you need from me? Did I get that right?
Perfect. Just like we paid you.
Yeah. And from my perspective, I'll leave you guys on the screen here as I close out. We're blessed to have y'all. When we started this Real Estate Investors Club years ago, its idea was just to get people talking to each other, shine a light on an industry where there may be some shadiness, and just everyone, the rising tide lifts all boats. We can all get smarter together. And you guys are a big part of that. To those of you who are listening, these are the guys that help sponsor the club. They keep us in admin fees, venue fees, website fees. So you guys can benefit from us. I don't make any money. This is, we're just doing this because I love real estate investing, and I just love talking to you guys who help us be better real estate investors. So a couple things. The next meeting coming up, I believe it's March 9th. So I'll be on the lookout for that. I don't know anything about the topics, but if you put something in the comments, then maybe we'll talk. We're going to play, as we outro, a public service announcement that Jet Lending, one of our sponsors, put together earlier today, because we're probably about to get the coldest this town has seen. I don't know, Gerald, did you grow up here?
No, I went to school here in the 80s, a long time ago, but I moved back here in 2012. But it gets cold here, but it's going to get really cold. So.
And Doug, we didn't talk about it, but you came from somewhere warmer than here, maybe. very, very west, maybe northwest of here.
Yeah, okay, that's enough. That's enough.
Yeah. Okay, it's sunny and it's not the southeast. Okay, so it's going to get cold this weekend, and you're dressed like my kids. My son went to school in shorts and a t-shirt today, and then he said I was cold, and I said, What did you say? So thank you for coming tonight. Thank you guys for being part of us. Thanks for the great comments you guys put together. And stick around for another 2.5 minutes and listen to this. Jet's just going to talk about some tips for keeping your real estate investment and actually your regular houses from freezing up this weekend. Anything I missed, Doug or Gerald?
No, thank you for doing this, because I know y'all put a lot of time into it, Mary too, and it's and like you said, it's just sharing that information is going to make us all smarter, better investors, better analyzers, makers, whatever. So, good job.
Totally agree. Thank you very much, Keith. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, everyone else. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Thanks, Mary. Bye bye.
Cool.